what's going on?
Not too much. What's going on with you?
Mr. Brown, I am just excited to be here and be a part of history.
Are we a part of history?
History is what's happening right now, and right now is the intro to the Nothing Good podcast.
It is. It is. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you been working on your podcast voice?
I think so. I don't really know what that is, but I figured as I would continue to talk into a microphone, eventually something good would come out.
I've been practicing. Can I throw a couple by you?
I'm waiting and willing.
Hello, and welcome to the Nothing Good podcast. How was that one?
Dirty.
Okay, let's try this one. Hi. How was that one?
Probably in jail.
Okay, that's good. I kind of want to go find my voice somewhere between professional baseball announcer and someone who's on a registry.
Well, I'm sure you'll find it somehow.
It's in the middle somewhere.
But yeah, so this is our our intro episode.
Yes, if you're listening to this, then you have stumbled across the very first episode of hopefully a never-ending podcast series that will make you regret having a podcast subscription service, and B, possibly ears.
Yes. So this is I was thinking about this before our show, like when I was at home, and I was taking my notes for our first real subject, and I'm like, okay, well, this is episode 2, and I stopped and went, was this really episode 2? This is episode 1. And I'm like, well, then this will make this, what we're doing here, episode 0, really. It's not even an episode. This is just like a, hey, how you doing? This is who we are sort of deal, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, we're 3 minutes in and you've already broken the fourth wall. So, way to go. We're getting very meta here. Meta.
I try.
But you know what? I think we should probably, let's go back a few layers and let's introduce ourselves.
Probably a good idea.
Just a little bit. So, my name is Noah. And I am best friends with this gentleman who is sitting diagonally across from me.
Yeah, that baby. My name is Herb, and I have been friends with this guy, with Noah here for 20-ish years, close to 20 years, right? So this is 2003, 2002.
This is we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary here in the next year or two of being best friends ever.
Yeah. Our common thread was professional wrestling, and
that's how we met.
We kind of clicked on that, and
that's how we fell in love.
Yeah, and we've been fast friends pretty much ever since, and we've been roommates. We've traveled a little bit together. We've had some adventures. We've had some drunken times, good times, bad times. Through marriages and loss and love and happiness and tragedy and everything in between. So I consider this guy a member of my family, and I consider his family part of my family.
The feeling is mutual all the way around.
So we, he had this idea. We've always kind of talked about the idea of doing anything. I mean, and I'm skipping over a lot because there's the whole thing with movie making.
Listen, there's a lot of podcasting left to happen. And we could do whole anthologies on March 2005 if we wanted to, but we're just glossing over. But so first of all, if you hear me refer to the word Doc, that is my most apt nickname for Herb here. So I would say that Doc and I have had a lot of projects that we've been involved in together. But like a lot of friends who like to bullshit a lot and shoot the shit and come up with grandiose ideas, sometimes they don't always follow through. But guess what? This one does. Because we're doing it right now. You're hearing it.
It's actually happening.
I'm just telling you right now, and I believe I speak for you, and if I don't, you will immediately tell me. But everyone listening to this is going to be here as we bring this idea to completion, to a climax, if you will.
A very significant climax.
We're going to finish all over this podcast, and I'm very excited. Yeah. And we'll go again, because ain't nothing wrong with doing it twice.
That's right.
It's nice.
And with that being said, I think it's important to kind of cover what the hell we're even going to talk about.
True.
So, Mr. Brown and I, we like pop culture-y things, but very specifically. I mean, we have all vast, opinions and interests that are totally separate from each other. But
we do.
The central things gaming, video gaming specifically, professional wrestling, movies, music. Those are kind of be like the central pillars to kind of what we're going to spend most of our time talking about. I hope that that's something that those of you out in podcast land are interested in listening to, and I'm really excited to dig into the first topic, which will be children of men.
Yes. So, first of all, we cannot be limited. We shall not be warranted and limited. And Herb Jones, Doc, does not adhere to the status quo. And by association, neither will this podcast. So, though the 4 pillars of what we will discuss, gaming, wrestling, movies, music, that'll probably form the foundation of a lot of our endless conversations, we will not be limited to your preconceived notions of doing a gaming podcast or a wrestling podcast or a film podcast or a music podcast. This is barely a podcast. This is basically just deciding to have the same conversations that we have all the time, literally hours before we decided to roll today. And we just stuck some microphones in front of our faces and we're going to let the magic happen. But yes, our next episode, this is the first one, we'll be covering what you and I largely consider one of the best films that we've ever seen.
Have ever seen.
And it's a very subjective concept. Best or favorite film, or best or favorite song, or band, or any of that stuff.
Of course.
This is one of those things that once we saw it, it was very clear that this was a work of art, and that is the film Children of Men, which we'll cover in our next episode that's going to be coming.
And I really want to just sort of put out there my thoughts on that movie without going obviously into great detail. We'll do a deeper dive in the next episode. But having seen the film the first time in 2007, I think it was like the winter of 2007 is when I saw it. The only word I could describe it with when I finished it, when Mr. Brown here asked me what I thought, I said, it's important. And, it's still important all these years later. It still matters to me all these years later. It's so wild to me how it's even more important to me now than it was then. Yeah.
The film has aged even better than the Spice Girl. Aged very well.
That's saying something.
Like a fine wine. And we're going to go into that. But we should also just, before we wrap up this intro episode, which first of all, let's call a spade here. If you're listening to this, chances are there's one or two ways you've discovered this podcast. One, you already know us.
Probably.
So in which case, we're sorry. You've probably heard many of these rants before, and many usually in somebody's kitchen in their very tiny apartment, about 6 or 7 beers deep. Or two, you've accidentally uncovered this for whatever reason. Maybe we had a couple of right tags in this, in which case, again, we're sorry. So, I mean, hey, you're the one who's doing this. It's not our fault. You're responsible. You're a part of this now. You're an accessory to podcast murder.
Yes.
As we basically uproot the entire genre.
I have a question.
Ooh, I have an answer. What's up?
I feel like we did, but it's all happening so fast. Did I mention the name of the podcast?
I don't think we should. At this point, if we haven't, dear listener, go back and see if we did. But you know what?
I don't remember if I even did.
We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. You can read, and if you can't read, I don't know how you found it, and bless you. But what I'd like to make it a tradition, and we'll do this for each subsequent episode, is that I'd like to put the listener into our shoes, give them the atmosphere, set the mood.
Okay.
If you will.
I like that.
And so
If you will.
So what I'd like to do is just kind of, why don't we tap in the listener as to what we're drinking while we record this episode?
Oh, yeah. We're drinking a Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA.
Beer. Good beer, too.
It's not too shabby at all.
On a scale of from 1 to 5 podcasts, allowing for quarter podcasts, what do you rate this beer?
Honestly? It's a 3.
I would go a little bit higher. I would say I would rate it 3.16.
3.16
out of 5. Yeah. You see what I did there?
I like it.
Dear listener, did you see what I did? If you didn't, then you're only gonna really
you're not gonna enjoy the show.
If you did not get that reference, then you are immediately disqualifying 25% of all content here. So learn.
Yeah,
read it up.
No, it's good beer, and I'm I'm not a huge IPA guy, but I do like IPAs. I do. This is only the second time I've ever had Broken Skull. I think both times have obviously been with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's good beer. It's not bad at all. It's strong. It's not overpowering. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm subscribed to the ideology that if it's wet, I'll drink it. And it's got to be a really bad beer for me to not want to finish it. But this is not good beer.
I've had some bad beers in my day.
Oh man, so many bad ones. I mean, you haven't lived until you wanted to die because you decided to spend $12 whole on a case of beer, didn't bother to refrigerate it, and then you're outside your friend's back porch at 3 a.m. And it's coming out of literally every possible orifice. And then you eat some chicken tenders and you fall asleep on that friend's very dirty shag carpet.
We call that 2008.
2008. You know what? That's like I think that like kind of sums up 04 to 08, like in that entire thing. And then we started getting a little more sophisticated, and we switched to 40s of oldie. And getting
like once. Yeah. That's all you need. Is one time to do that.
They still say that if you close your eyes and listen, you can still hear us powering through those 40s of oldie. But speaking of powering through, I think we've powered through this introductory episode here. Chances are, if you're still listening, then you're going to be on board for episode 2.
I'd like to think so. And I thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Obviously, what are we even really doing here? But just talking and bullshitting and just chatting it up, and hope that whoever's listening enjoys it too, can kind of connect with what we're talking about.
I 100% agree. If you have made it this far, perhaps you'll go a little bit farther. Maybe you'll round first base and let us hit the second with you, if you don't mind.
And I just want to point out that for the next all episodes that we produce and we put out, if we're covering a specific subject, whether it's especially like a movie, that type of media, it will be spoiler heavy. So
yes, so next week,
be prepared for that, because we will talk about a lot of details in Children of Men, and I highly recommend, if you've never seen this film, please go out of your way to watch it. It is 1,000% worth your time.
Yes,
it is. I'm sure you can go to most stores that sell, used DVDs. I mean, you can get it cheap.
Good Lord. Go on Amazon. Spend $3.99 to rent it.
Yeah, rent it.
You will not regret it. Now, listen. Here's. I'll even just give you a little bit of a qualifier, dear listener. If you're one of the people that haven't seen this film, there's some people out there that say, "Oh, I've never seen a Star Wars film, and I'm so grateful that I've never seen it."
I'm convinced those people don't exist.
Yeah, they're you're not right. But regardless, if I had a person in front of me who'd never seen a Star Wars movie and had never seen Children of Men, and I had to pick one to recommend, I tell them to start with Children of Men, mostly because I think it's a better movie than any of the Star Wars movies, but also because then they'd really like it, and they're like, "What else do you want to recommend?" I say, "Fucking Star Wars, you schmuck!
Where have you been?
Christ, where the hell have you been?" God.
Yes. So please watch it. It is one of the better films I've ever seen in my entire life, and we've talked about this. Like, there's a difference between like your favorite and the best. It's not my favorite movie necessarily, but it's one of the best films I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get into it next episode. So thanks for stopping by this lovely intro episode to Nothing Good.
Ah, you said it. I didn't want you to say it.
Yeah, I felt like we had to at least pop it in. I feel like I might have said it in the beginning.
You got to pop it in there. You got to just to see how it feels. And then if you don't like it, you can always pull back out and claim that you were just testing the waters out. And on that note, I think it's been good.
I think so too.
And it's been real.
It's been real good.
And nothing good.
Nothing good.
Oh God, I hope we don't find a way. Let's never end an episode like this ever again. That felt so bad. That felt so wrong.
Yes,
wrong.
See,
and not right.
There's nothing right about it at all. Mm-mm. But we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.